publishers have been part of curating the scholarly dialogue for centuries, and in that respect, they're vital. At the same time, we have a global population that the vast majority does not have access to research about current developments in science, medicine, culture, technology, environmental science, and are faced with the prospect of trying to make sense of the world without access to the best knowledge about it, and in some sense that is tragic.
Western universities have really great funds for their libraries. So they have the capacity to purchase the journals, give access to their students. But in context of developing countries, libraries are really poor. So you eventually end up doing everything on your own without any support from the university or college. And even if when you're trying to approach your faculties, your professors, you get the same answers that we did it the same way, and you'll have to do it the same way as well. So it just keeps going, and we don't get a concrete result out of it.
So my research was more in very fundamental physics, special relativity there. And many of these papers, again, was you have to pay for them. I will say I never pay it for any paper, especially in the economy of Venezuela. Right now it's even worse, unfortunately. But even when I was a student there, you just kind of take your credit card and buy something from the internet.
There are a lot of people who are suffering as a result of the current system in academia. There are a lot of doctors who would benefit from having the latest information about what the best care to give to the patients. There is so much research that has been done already. It's ridiculous sometimes when you try to access a paper that was written in 1975 and it's still behind a paywall. It doesn't make any sense.
From the foundation's perspective, we're able to, through our funding, work with our grantees to say, yes, we're going to give you this money, and yes, we want you to do certain scientific and technical research and yield a particular outcome, but we want you to do it in a particular way. And one of the ways that we want people to work is to ensure that the results of what they do is broadly open and accessible. And along with that, we want to ensure that not only the money that we spend directly on our investments in new science and technology yield a tangible benefit to those people, but we'd also like to see it have a multiplier effect, so that the information, the results of what we fund in gets out for broader use by the scientific community, the academic community to build on and to sort of accelerate and expand the results that we're achieving.
What comes to mind when you hear of Elsevier?
Oh my goodness. Yes, Elsevier is a pain in the neck for us in Africa because their prices are too high for us. They don't want to come down.
A common misunderstanding is that if we save all the poor children, the world will become overpopulated. This may sound logical, but it's wrong. It's the other way around. Saving the poor children's lives is required to end population growth. Now, look at the UN numbers. Poor parents, on average, have 5 children, and 1 dies. Look, 2 parents are replaced by 4 surviving children in the next generation. This means population is growing very fast among the poorest. This is the average family in the worst of places like Congo and Afghanistan. Today, where child mortality is highest, that's where population is growing faster than anywhere else. How many people live like this? There are 7 billion people in the world, 1 block, 1 billion. The poorest 2 billion, they live like this. The other 5 billion, they have this average family. 2 parents having 2 children, and there are few child deaths. This is the majority of the world population, not only Europe and the US, it's throughout religions and cultures. China, Iran, Mexico, large cities in Africa. Today, in most population, children just replace parents, and the size of generations are no longer increasing. This means the population will stop growing. How did so many people end up with small families? Well, their children stopped dying. As they left extreme poverty and girls got education, parents no longer had to compensate for child death by having many babies, and a large family stopped being an economic necessity or a social status symbol. And with modern contraceptives, parents across the world, the majority, decided to have a small family. So, by saving the lives of poor children, and helping the last 2 billion out of poverty, these parents will also decide to have fewer children. And fewer. Eventually, reaching the 2-child family. That showed the UN family size forecast up to the end of the century. Then the world population is expected to stop growing. Before it stops, another 4 billion people will be added to the world population. 4 billion more, that's a lot of people. But the longer poor children keeps dying and this change is delayed, the more billions will be added. So, ending population growth starts by saving the poorest children.